Once again, I'm so happy to welcome you to our membership summit, and it is my privilege to introduce to you one of my favorite Rotarians. I mean, every Rotarian I meet is my favorite, and once you meet me, you're my friend for life, just so you know, and you can't get rid of me, no matter how you try. But this individual is responsible for me standing right here, in part because I know I have a lot to do with it as well, but he asked me to go to Atlanta to an emerging leadership meeting, which I had no clue what it was, and I got there and I was in awe. But past District Governor Jonathan Lucas, you just heard from, is our Council of Leadership representative for our district. He helped found and was club president for the Alexandria West Rotary Club. And if you have not, I was gonna read his entire bio because I was just in awe reading it. But you need to really take time to take a look at it and read it. He is internationally and considered an international expert in diversity, equity, and inclusion worldwide. And to just read the first sentence of his bio, you just are captured by this man. And he has a lot of accolades. He has a lot of Rotary history. But when you look at it, you think, wow, he has just been a Rotarian since he was 5 years old. But one thing I have learned about him, and I emulate a lot, Jonathan does nothing alone. Jonathan surrounds himself with excellence. He surrounds himself with leaders, and he is a leader himself. It is never me, mine, I. It's always we, us, and for them. And it is my privilege to hand this mic to my personal friend, Jonathan Lucas.
My kids are at sporting events today, so they couldn't be here. My wife couldn't be here, but I want to make sure she heard every word of Sheila's introduction. So we have a great almost 3 hours with you guys. We're going to have some breaks in here, but we're going back to the heart of the matter of growing Rotary, and that is membership. We have two amazing people on this panel today that's going to really, I hope, continue to expand your minds around this, give some solutions on how we can grow our clubs. The first person is a dear friend of mine. Speaking about having leaders surround you, this gentleman, since I've been at the district level here, I've worked with him in some various capacities. Because why? I met this guy and I thought, I really, really like him, first and foremost. Two, he makes a difference both in his club and at the district. He's always coming up with something interesting to convey at our meetings, to show our progress or lack thereof. And this person is Earl Boffman. Earl is the past president of one of our largest clubs. It's not the largest club, Fredericksburg Rappahannock. He supported the development of their satellite club a couple of years ago. I got to go down and help inaugurate that club at a beautiful setting in the museum, which he helps run in Fredericksburg, and just something to be very proud of that this district has. He's a past AG, and he served with me on the membership committee for several years, and he's the incoming membership chair. So you all are in great hands with Mr. Boffman. And we are so very lucky to have our zone coordinator here representing us today. This gentleman came up from Greensboro, North Carolina with his lovely wife, and Greensboro is near and dear to my heart because that's where my Rotary experience started. Patrick Eakes earned a bachelor and master's degree in mechanical engineering from North Carolina State University. So two things in that sentence are very important. One, he's very smart. Two, he went to the right school down there. His wife is actually a Tar Heel, so there might be some fighting words there. He has operated, he's a CEO of a high-end custom metal manufacturing business, which he's owned for the last 26 years. Talk about remarkable bios. Patrick has led his club's drive to become the Rotary's first Triple Crown club, which means 100% Paul Harris Fellow, 100% sustaining member, and 100% benefactor, simultaneously. While District Rotary Foundation Chair, his district led the world in 100% sustaining clubs for 5 years and became Rotary's first 100% Paul Harris Fellow districts. Whoa. Something for us to inspire to. Something for us to inspire to. Patrick now serves as Zone 33 as Rotary Coordinator and as Innovative Club Advocate, and he's on the Zone 33-34 Executive Committee. He's the immediate past president, now this sounds like a farce, U.S.-Canada Golfing Fellowship of Rotarians. Now, sounds like to me he wants a permanent vacation. And has served 2 years on RI Service and Networking Groups committees and oversaw Rotary Fellowship and Rotary Action Groups. He's a busy man. He served 2 terms as president of Sedgefield Country Club, home of the PGA Tour's Wyndham Championship. Golf is definitely a big part of his life outside of Rotary and inside of Rotary. And maybe the most important thing, he's married to Kristen, and they have 2 amazing children, all of which are active in Rotary projects. He enjoys spending time with his family, of course playing golf, and collecting wine. Oh, wine collecting, sorry, that's a little more, more regal. He's also the recipient of 2 major awards, Distinguished Service Awards and the Service Above Self Award. He's also the reason I'm here today. Because 20-some years ago, I came down to North Carolina after ending my short-lived baseball career to go to college. And I was asked by the president of my college to go to a meeting about Rotaract, something that he thought that maybe I should be involved in. So I'm a sucker and did, and started my Rotary history. But got to know Patrick as a Rotaractor in his district and saw his leadership very early on in his Rotary career. And just his ability to make us feel welcome, make us Rotaractors feel a part of the bigger picture of Rotary, and to inspire people like me that maybe I one day could do something too. He's a great man. And when I look and I think about who Rotary is, and the culture and the ethic behind our 4-way test, Mr. Eakes lives and breathes that every single day. And I am grateful to be working with him at the zone level, but I am more grateful that he allows me to hang out and call him my friend. So, Mr. Eakes.
Thank you, Jonathan. Wow. What are y'all doing next weekend? Golf, yeah. Yeah, Jonathan and I have been friends now for, I guess, about 20 years. And you didn't have to be a genius to tell when he was in college and then even after college, his leadership skills, what he did with Rotaract, both in a college setting and as a community-based Rotaract club. Just an incredible leader. So when I was at a zone event a few years ago, and we hadn't seen each other in 15 years, and I saw him at a future governor training, I said, "You have to be Jonathan Lucas." One of us turned really gray during this time. One of us grew a beard. But just remarkable for me to get to see that he's continued his leadership journey within Rotary and the way that he has served your district and our zone in such a distinguished way. So it's great to be with you all. Governor Pat, thanks for the chance to be here. Jonathan said we've got 3 hours together on membership, and when I first heard that, I thought to myself, you know, I like my voice, and I don't want to hear me for 3 hours. So I promise you, you're going to hear from different people. You all are going to be participating in part of this. We have a break. You will not have to listen to me just yammer on for 3 hours. I promise you that. So why are we here to talk about membership? You know, I mean, the why of membership really matters. I would say that the why for me, why does membership matter, is that everything we value about Rotary gets better when we have a more robust membership. Our opportunities for professional network, for our social circle, to make an impact in our community and across the world. All of these things, our support of the Rotary Foundation, our ability to impact Ukraine, all of these things, when we have more Rotarians, we can do more. Grow more to do more, as President Shaker says. So that's a big part of the why. On a personal basis, and thank you, by the way, for saying those nice things in front of my wife. She didn't have to see a recording. But for our family, the incredible impact, particularly on our children, that Rotary has had in their growth and their development and them becoming servant leaders, that happens because of the warmth and the love and the experience and the opportunity to interact with adults, all of those things that's enriched by having a full army of Rotarians. So that for me is why this matters so much. I want to give you just a quick overview of what we're going to cover today so you'll have a roadmap. I'm going to open by talking about the state of membership. Now, I will tell you, part of this is kind of a standard Rotary International slide deck, but I've also customized it for your district. We're going to drill down a little bit to the district. Earl is going to talk afterward about district membership plans and then also drilling down to the club level to talk about that. Jonathan's going to talk about targeted outreach into our community, and there'll be an exercise that you all will participate that comes out of that. Then after a break, I'm going to talk a little bit about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we're going to talk about innovative clubs, which is a really, really key piece to growing Rotary and to having a more robust membership. So let's go ahead and talk about, yes, it works, the state of membership. No, this was, yeah, of course it works. We've got, I've told these guys, I said, I've told Greg and Taz, you guys are the unsung heroes. You know, people notice you if something goes wrong. You know, they take you for granted that everything goes right. If something goes wrong, they're like, where are those AV guys? We'll say, yeah, you're going to clip the mic. Yeah, the Geek Squad. So, well, you know, probably everybody here would thank you for that. So 1.4 million members strong. This is in recognition that Rotaract clubs have been elevated, right? Rotaract clubs are members of Rotary, just as Rotary clubs are members of Rotary. We have 1.4 million members in over 47,000 clubs. It's remarkable. It's also world class. So Rotary and Rotaract. Sometimes people ask me, what's the difference? And one of the ways I define this is that Rotary by design is a multi-generational experience, where Rotaract tends to be a little bit narrower age band. There is no upper age limit for Rotaract, but it tends to be a little narrower age band, and we call that sometimes near-peer opportunities for growth, for service, for learning. And of course, we hope that everybody who participates in Rotaract will eventually join Rotary. And of course, thanks to the Council on Legislation, going back the session before Jonathan and I were a part of that, now people can be members of both at the same time, which is a wonderful change, I think. So here's some stats looking worldwide. As of the 1st of April, which was the last time I could get worldwide statistics, we were just over 1.2 million Rotarians and about 250,000 Rotaractors. Now you can see this chart compares to July 1st, the start of this Rotary year, we're up about 40,000 Rotarians and about 15,000 Rotaractors. But it may be even more instructive to compare to April 1st, to the same time the year before. And I say this because you all know this, I think. Frequently in May and June, we see a certain purging of our membership rolls that take place, right? I mean, it tends to happen. So looking at a year over year, April 1 versus April 1, we see that we have made progress, which is quite good, including 243 new Rotary clubs during that time. Now, I would not get hung up on the loss of Rotaract clubs, because what that really reflects is as Rotaract is being elevated, as they are starting to come into our information systems, some clubs that really were defunct have just been cleaned up off the roll. So it's not truly clubs that are changing, it's really just documentation of that. Now, it's worth noting, worldwide, 25% of Rotarians are women, but in Rotaract, they have gender parity. They're at 52% women. As you look around the world, that percentage of women really varies greatly. In our paired zone, our sister zone, Zone 34, the Caribbean nations have 40% women among Rotarians, where in Japan, it's 7% women. So, culturally and maybe traditionally around the world, it does vary. Now, we talked some about some of these innovative clubs, and as I said, after the next break, we're going to spend a little bit more time talking about that. But I show you these examples of innovative clubs to set up the fact that a lot of the growth that we are seeing in Rotary, and particularly almost all of the net growth in North America, is occurring from the addition of clubs. In other words, our legacy clubs are not growing. Our growth is occurring by adding new clubs that tend to be innovative, like the 4 examples you see up there now. Now, taking a look at your district, at 7610, you can look at 2 things there. One, looking at your trend over the last 5 years. So you have 56 clubs, just as you did 5 years ago. You've added 3, you've lost 3 during that time. So you're level on clubs, but as I was just saying about where the growth comes from, you can see that you are down 265 members during that 5 years. And that's over 12%. That is 1 in 8 who are no longer in your district. That is significant. And of course, when we talk about those whys, the ability for impact, the ability for our circles, our professional networks, that's a considerable amount. So let's take a look at, for instance, the percentage of females. You are now at 31%. Female compared to that worldwide figure I gave you of 25. I think that's noteworthy. You have continuously increased that percentage, usually about 1% a year. So moving from 26 to 31% over the last 5 years. So you're trending in what I would say is the right direction for sure. You'll note 15% of your Rotarians under the age of 50. Thank you, Jonathan, for helping us with that. Versus a worldwide of 16%. So pretty much in line there. Now, this is one of my favorite quotes here from Rotary International President Shaker. Friends, to live for others, to care for others, to serve others and change their lives is the best way to live our own lives. And so I think that's important to remember when we talk about membership. We measure it in numbers, right? That's the easiest way to measure membership. But really, when we talk about having more robust membership, as I said, all the great things we value about Rotary occur. And that includes, for me, when I see that quote, I always think the payoff for me as a Rotarian happens right here in my heart. The best way I can live my life is as a Rotarian, practicing the 4-way test, practicing our core values, and to live for, to care for, and to serve others. Now, what our members want, we consistently survey our membership, large-scale surveys. Here's what our members want: local community service, connecting with others, and development opportunities, both professionally and leadership. And That comes up time and time again. I think the third one, we frankly undersell the opportunity for personal development. I always think back to when I was a president in 2001, 2002, and at my first meeting, I was holding my agenda. I had to put the agenda down. I was so terrified, my hands were shaking so much I couldn't read the agenda in my hands. And now I regularly have the opportunity to speak in front of groups like yours, and I relish the opportunity to be able to share Rotary with all of you. So it's just an undersold part of the value equation of Rotary is our own development as leaders and that we can take to our professions. I encourage you, and you've heard this already this morning, in considering what members want, ask your members what they want. Seems a simple thing, right? Those of you who work in a setting where you have clients, or even if you're part of membership organizations in the not-for-profit world, you ask your clients what they want, right? You do if you want to stay in business. So why wouldn't we ask our members, what do you want? What are we doing well? Maybe what could we improve? And there are a number of surveys that you can use to do that, or you can use the Rotary Club Health Check, which is one of the better tools that Rotary International makes available to assess your club against a larger sample. Factors that include member satisfaction. Now, Governor Pat, she's not in the room now, but she talked about satisfaction and loyalty. It's really what we're talking about here, satisfaction versus retention. And you can see the comfort with other club members is at the top of both lists. Now, I was having this conversation last night, I think, with Juanita. When Rotarians leave, when they resign, they don't leave Rotary. They leave Rotary clubs. They leave clubs where they don't feel comfortable, their needs are not being met, something's missing. So that comfort with other club members is a really key part of that equation. And so it's encourage you to consider that. You will hear more about that over the next 14 months from President-elect Jennifer Jones, who talks a great deal about the comfort and care of our members. As I said, we're going to talk about diversity, equity, inclusion a bit more as we move through this, but it's a very, very key part of the membership equation. I'll leave that slide there for now, but I will add that Rotary International has really doubled down on its commitment to DEI with a new code of conduct, a new DEI statement that makes it very clear what's expected in terms of the kinds of environments that we create that make all feel welcome and help them know that they can thrive. Well, like I said, we'll talk a little bit about that right after our break. So the member experience. This gets to what I was talking about when I say people don't leave Rotary. They don't suddenly decide they don't care about the four-way test or that our core values, that those don't matter anymore. They leave because of the member experience is not what they're looking for. So it's important that we prioritize that experience, that we ask them what they want, that we provide what they want. And again, I think surveys and that Rotary Club Health Check are excellent ways to get started with that. Enhancing participant engagement. That is giving our members and our prospective members the opportunity to engage, perhaps just to engage, because maybe the current club is not providing that. But if it is, providing an opportunity to engage on their terms. That means providing more flexibility. That may be when or how often we meet or where we meet. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to innovative clubs. Expanding our reach. The reach of our organization, the reach of our clubs, the reach of us individually. And a lot of that has to do with the inclusion piece of DEI. We can expand our reach when we better reflect our communities, when we better reflect diversity of thought within our clubs. And I think it's important that we include Rotaractors when we consider this, how we expand our reach, because they can be a very, very important part of reaching areas and reaching parts of communities that we have not previously met. So how can you take action on this? And we're going to be talking about this over the next, what is it, Jonathan, 6 hours? Okay, 6 hours? Yeah, right. 12? I have a bit of 12. Okay, all right, 12 is going to be. So learning, okay, so that means understanding our membership trends, and Earl is going to help us drill down a little bit on that within your district coming up. Asking, that piece again, ask your members, ask your clients, ask your prospective members, what do they want? Give them, we talk about exit surveys, give them an entrance survey. What is it you want out of our club? Hopefully you're having this conversation before a member joins, but certainly have it with your members once they have joined and with your continuing members. Commit to improving the experience of your members. Commit to providing Rotary in a way that works for them, that they get the value out of that check that they write every month or every quarter. And then take advantage of the resources. Now, you have resources in many forms. Rotary.org has many membership resources. The Rotary Learning Center has many resources. You have resources like your current membership chair, Jonathan, your incoming chair, Earl. JB, Janet Brown and I are part of the Zone Rotary team, at least for another 60 days, right? We're about to term out. But you have all these resources who are there to help you. They're not here to tell you how to do it or to dictate terms to you, but they're there to support, to encourage, to bounce ideas off of us. So finally, we know that when we connect, and by that I mean we connect with each other, we connect with those with whom we collaborate, we connect with our communities, we connect with the world, we know that our ability to make a difference grows exponentially. So that connection piece, which is really what membership is all about, that's really at the core of what we do. At the end of the day, we're not a service organization. The rest of the world sees us for our service, and rightfully so. We have changed the trajectory of millions of lives. But we are a member organization that provides service. So we have to take care of our members in order to fulfill our potential. So that's enough of my sermonizing for right now, but you'll get some more later, I promise. Right now, I'm going to pass over to Earl Boffman, your incoming district membership chair, and as I said, he's going to drill down a little bit further to talk about Rotary in this district.
Thank you, Patrick and Jonathan. Jonathan, I think you and I are 2 out of 3 because my wife wasn't in here either. There we go. As Patrick said, my name's Earl Boffin. I'm a member of the Rappahannock-Fredericksburg Club, and I'm taking over as the district membership chair. There's all of my contact information, so if you've got any questions, issues, you know where to find me. I started out working on setting up an membership committee organization, and I've kind of got a hybrid of some things that were recommended to me. And it's not fully populated. I hope to have that all done by 1 July of 2022. In addition to myself as membership chair, we have a vice chair, Eileen Curtis, who is kind of tied up for a little while. She's going to step in about September to really become active and so forth. And across the next level, you can see we have a box here for somebody to handle attraction and engagement. Engagement, you normally think of retention, but the way you retain people is to engage them. So we're doing engagement, and we've got a couple of hands-on resources that are going to help out underneath that. One of the key things we need is somebody to help out with the RI leads. And those blocks that are open, you all can consider yourselves as prime targets for filling some of those boxes. If you're here, you're interested enough to spend a weekend with us learning about Rotary, you're interested enough to fill one of those boxes. So I'm looking for you. One of the boxes that we do have filled is the communications and training. This is Leanne Poland from the Stafford Club, who's been part of the membership committee and is ingrained in that. And you'll notice she's got a direct link to the club membership chairs. And the club membership chairs are key to making all of this work. We need somebody when we pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I see you've got a member here that's in RI but not in DAC-DB. What's going on here? We need somebody to be able to answer those questions. And then on the other side there is innovative clubs and club development. And that's my good friend back here, David Pierce, who you're going to hear from in a little while. David is a member of our Rotary Club and has been for a long, long time. He's a key part of the whole organization. And he is the one that oversaw setting up our satellite club, which has been very, very successful. So when I started thinking about somebody to do innovative clubs, he immediately came to mind. And along with him, we've got Daniil Kennedy here, who is the current chairman of the satellite club. And Daniil is going to kind of follow along and get up to speed and start working with the innovative clubs also. Okay, so that's where we're coming from. There is one glaring thing missing from this, and that is the DEI block. We're working on that. We've got to get that squared away. So where do we go from here? And we started out, we needed some kind of baseline to figure out where on earth we were. We did some club health checks. You just saw the, there we go. Got to push the right button. You just saw the results of the survey that we talked about. And the thing I want to talk about right now is the club membership statistics and history. When you ask clubs about how you doing membership-wise, oh, we're doing fine, you know, no problems and so forth. And I thought, well, how come we're losing members if everybody's doing so well? So I thought, we need some way of really sitting down and showing a club, this is the truth. This is ground zero. I'm a retired engineer, so I like numbers. And that's when I came up with the way to kind of convey that to the various clubs. And we came up with charts that look like this. Now, this is a fictitious Mayberry Club, Rotary Club. And you can see over here on, okay. This button. All right. Over here on the left-hand side, you can see the number of members in the club, and this is 1 July for each one of the dates. And all of this information is available from various resources in RI and within DAC-DB. And what you see, this, gee.
If you want us, we can advance the slides for you.
No, I got it. I'm.
Just give it a moment. It's just a connection.
I'm trainable. You can see the blue line shows the number of actual members in the club. And the orange line is just this, well, what happens if we grew by 5%, and the gray line is what happens if we lost 5%, and so on. So each club should have received a chart like this. If you haven't, let me know. We've got them available. And down at the bottom, there's another thing that this starts with 2018, 1 July 2018, and it shows how many members were in the club at that point, and then it shows between now, or that time, and January of 2022, how many members were terminated, how many of those came back, and then how many new members you added, how many of those you lost. So you can see we started with 24 here, lost 13, so we're down to 21. Got one of those back, takes us to 22. Added 5 to get to 27, lost one of those, and we're at 26. So the numbers all work. It's pretty straightforward. Now, what's not so straightforward is the fact that this tells you what happened, but it doesn't tell you why it happened. If you look at this, you can see this club's adding members and so forth, and right about here, you can see it starts dropping off. And you think, well, look at that. That's about 2020, that's when COVID hit. Well, that's true, but the big factor right here is that right about here is where Barney Fife joined the Mayberry Rotary Club. It started driving people nuts. And they had several people that left the club because of that. So you have to understand your local nature and why things are happening. Okay, like I said, everybody should have one of these. If you don't, let me know. This is a fairly straightforward thing that shows the relationship, and this is important because this is where a lot of this information comes from. Over here, you see the RI database that's run out of Evanston, probably located on a server up in Loudoun County. Oh! Okay. So.
I'm tracking you. When you screw up, I'll fix it. Get ready.
I need somebody to back me up, it looks like. So over here you got the RI database, and this is the list of official Rotarians. What's that in DAC-DB is all well and good, but that's not the official, this is who counts as Rotarians. So it's important that we keep these things aligned. And the way it works is each of the clubs has a separate section of this DAC-DB database, and there's a direct interface into RI. So when you add a new member over here in DAC-DB, it's supposed to automatically take care of it, and it gets added into RI. Sometimes that process breaks down, and we have to go in and fix some things, and there's things that can block that. So that's where sometimes I need a little assistance. And the other factor is if you're over here as one of these clubs that's still using Club Runner, you got another little wrinkle here because you've got a separate database, which you have to maintain for your members, and then you still have to keep the district up to speed. So you've got the DAC-DB database that has to be maintained, and then you got hardcore reality out here in RI. So it gets a little more complicated, but we can work with that too. I've got several clubs that have given me access into this information so I can pull and see what's the ground truth sometimes. So here's one of the things that I use that's very helpful as part of DAC-DB. You can see this little button here that says RI District Compare. And when I hit that button, it goes back into here, and it looks at all of I can select one club or all clubs or two clubs. It selects those clubs and says, I want to see a comparison between what's in this database and what's in that database. And it will come up and say, well, here's somebody that's been entered in Club 3, but they haven't shown up as RI, so they're not being counted as a member. So we want to fix that. So that's one of the things that I use to help fix that. And that's where I may need to call, or somebody may need to contact your club membership chair and say, hey, what's up with this guy? You know, he's not showing up in RI. Okay. So why are we doing this? Why is it important? Well, it improves the window on reality. This is what I said when you get clubs that say, whoa, our membership is fine. You know, we're doing all right. We've been about at 45, losing 2 or 3, you know. Well, yeah, right, but you brought in 32 new members and you lost 29 over that period of time. In other words, you've got kind of a revolving door going on here, and maybe we need to look at that. So here's some of the things that we need the clubs to think about doing as we move along. Now, the first thing, you know, we're talking about all kinds of new clubs and satellite clubs and impact clubs and so forth. One of the things that you need to be aware of, you need to kind of dance with the person that brung you. You know, these are your old members that have gotten you this far, and you need to be cognizant of their needs and make sure you're bringing them along. At the same time, there's a lot of new opportunities, and you need to be attuned and receptive to those opportunities, the innovative clubs and things like that. Engage and retain new members, we're all about that. Attract new members, and then this is where that communicate with the district membership committee. You need a district membership chair, or not a district membership chair, but a club membership chair. And if you've got the wherewithal, you know, establish a committee. But if you don't, just make sure you got one person that is understanding what's going on and can talk to us. And this is where I say the membership records. If you got somebody that's a DACDB guru or a database guru, you know, that's all.
Not you. Just teasing, Earl.
All right. I'll get you.
You can get me later.
That's all well and good. If you don't, as long as you understand what's happening in your club and can convey that to us, we can take care of the mechanics part of it. And the other thing is, and this is kind of a labor-intensive thing, is the manage the membership leads. Membership leads are people that have expressed an interest in Rotary. They've taken the time and effort to express that, and we need to be poised and ready to grab a hold of that and turn them into Rotarians. Okay, we are here to help out. And this is not a matter of, hey, you folks, you guys got a big problem and you need to fix it by doing this. No, we're not about that. We are here to say, you know, we saw something that you might think about, and if you need some help, let us know. Here's a way that we think you might be able to add some members. You know, let us know if we can help you. And then we're here to answer questions and be of any assistance you can. So we're getting this off the ground and rolling and ready to go to work for you. So, get any questions, comments? I'll be glad to address anything right now, or we can. I'll be around and.
Put your email up there again. We're going to take that away from you.
Hey, I found it, Kaz.
Hey, you go to the podium, okay?
I'm excited about membership in this district because of the amount of people. Since we decided to start doing membership, you know, working together as a district to try to really help the club, the amount of people that have come forward excited about this and willing to help and wanting to be a part of it is amazing. Our district is going to thrive hardcore because of our Rotarians, and I just wanted to say Earl's one of those. He's an amazing leader.
Okay, real quick, I don't want to take up.
I just want to add on to what Earl has been talking about. I'm going to try to stand up here. During pre-pets and all through CPETs, one thing we talked about the RLI leads and DACDB and the comparison and everything over and over again. And I want you to know I promised every single one of those individuals I will personally work with anyone in this district or out of the district that needs help with DACDB. We get on a 5-minute Zoom, we'll get you going. I can walk you through, I can show them tricks that I have learned. I made it a personal initiative for myself to really do a deep dive into DACDB and learn the functions and how to best use it to support our district. So don't sit out there and just complain and say how much you hate DACDB and you don't like this, because I hear it all the time. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. You've got my name, you've got my phone number, you've got my email. please reach out. I promise you, we will get you the help you need. Thank you.
And could I add something?
Oh, hold
that-
it up here. Do I have to stand up? No. Okay, I just wanted to remind everybody that in RLI, there she goes again, we have attracting members and engaging members. And so please remember, because that's where we get together and we exchange ideas, we share wonderful opportunities to get to know each other better and to know what works in clubs. So remember RLI.
Okay, one more and then we'll move on.
I want to piggyback on the talk about Rotaract. Not all districts are alike. This is a focus for RI. Our district, for example, has about 10 times the interacts as they do Rotaract, and this is also a big opportunity. This year, District Governor Pat Borowski allowed the Bailey's Club to do a pilot program for young professionals. Some of these interactors, the scholarship winners, Rotary has allowed us with parental consent to retain their information. They're now in their 30s. We got 6 this year. We're going to get 20 next year. So one of the things you have to look at is just for membership is not just numbers, it's age. The Bailey's Club was 70 years old at the beginning of this year, and bringing in youth changes the whole dynamics.
Okay, thanks. Let me turn it back over to Jonathan here.
Maybe we shouldn't have given those guys a round of applause quite yet. Oh, we're giving it again. All right. I'm gonna come down here this time. Move around a little bit. So sorry you have to hear from me again, but this is how this works. Maybe I am. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit now for a few minutes about targeted outreach and the rehab exercise, because it get the blood flowing, get people thinking. We want you all to go take this stuff back and actually implement it in your clubs. So first, and Patrick's going to get into this a little bit later, something I'm very passionate about, something that I'm living right now through my doctoral dissertation, but it's called the diversity dividend. There are studies after studies after studies after studies that are coming out, if you look in the last 5 to 8 years, that prove diversifying your workforce in a concerted manner gives you a certain competitive advantage. We need to start doing what businesses that I help around the country do in Rotary. And that is to diversify our workforce, our membership. McKinsey recently did a study, and it shows that the top quartile of gender diversity in companies contributes to a 21% increase in average profitability. That's not minuscule, that's huge. And additionally, in those top quartile for ethnic diversity, they saw a 33% increase in profitability. All right? This is where we need to go. I stressed it during my year as governor. Harry Henderson stressed it during his year as governor. Pat's stressing it this year, her year. And I know Sheila, Renee, and Amelia will be doing the same. There's so many community members out here, we're not even engaging at any level. So how do we know there's not some great talent, the next district governor within those communities? Next leader, next club president, maybe the next RI president, as a matter of fact. And so we're going to talk today about some strategies to increase our diversity in a very targeted way, very inclusive way, but it begins with telling our Rotary story outside of ourselves and going into, Andale's a great example. They've got a huge Korean American community. Yet we only have a few Korean Americans in our district. Why is that? You need to think about that. Why is there very few Hispanic Americans in our district when those people are in our community?
Are there few Asians? We've got to change the ball game in order to grow. So how do we do that? It's basically marketing 101. And that is creating a path. We have to brand ourselves and we have to tell that story. We do a great job at these conferences and at our trainings, but we don't do it in our community settings. It costs money. I know it costs time. You've got to have somebody who's focused on that. You've got to figure out how you're going to do it. But we need to go out and talk more. Right? Every time that we have a service project, we need to talk about our story. Every time that we have a fundraiser, we need to talk about our story. But it's not just asking people to come to us. We need to go. We need to go talk to schools and universities and businesses, chamber events, and tell our story. And our story is not come to our club and listen to this amazing speaker and meet great people. It is about the impact that we are creating in the world. The money we are raising, the people we are serving, the lives we are changing, the lives that we are saving, or what people are going to invest in. Right? We have to tell that story. We have to, again, target market. It's not good enough to do something this broad and outreach, expecting somebody to come and listen. It's about going into certain communities that we haven't talked to, certain groups, certain businesses, and creating a plan for that, and then executing on that plan, and having goals and targets, and saying, okay, thus far, we haven't met 25% of our goal. In my pocket. Smart ass answer. Maybe it's my phone. So I figured it out. See, I'm a tech guy. No, I'm not.
Everybody becomes tech sooner than later.
Yeah, you have to. So, start thinking about those targets. What we'll do in a minute. Social. We saw Pat's slide, right? We got to be there. We got to use it effectively. It doesn't mean use it once a month or once a quarter. It's every day. I pay people thousands of dollars a month to do social media outreach for my company. Why? Because it's generating opportunity for me. We got to come up with a plan, the club level and the district level, to do this more effectively, and we haven't done yet. I mean, we didn't do it during my year as governor, and I take 100% responsibility. But that's where people are going for their news, maybe unfortunately, for their friendships, and to buy stuff. Right? These apps are becoming more inclusive. It's a one-stop shop. We got to be part of that shop. Messaging, constantly, continuously. Right? And so, if you look at this, I'm not going to dare push that damn laser button, but we'll be here all day, folks. But if you look at the chart over here on the other side, this is what goes back, and I'm going to keep preaching the gospel here. We got this club out in Central Carolina who have almost, 70, 80 members coming in this year because they're not asking the person to marry them the first time they meet them. We're not prearranging anything. We're going there. We're going to go on a date. We're going to go to a nice restaurant. We're going to buy some good wine. We're going to then hopefully get a second date if it goes well. And then you work up to the marriage. The first part's awareness. People don't make decisions on what shoes they buy by just going and buying a pair of shoes. They've seen the commercial. Ray Kroc said it for McDonald's. It takes them 7 times to sell a cheeseburger before somebody buys it. I don't know about you, but cheeseburgers are pretty damn good. So if it takes him 7 times, it's probably going to take us 14. But it's about making people aware that we exist, aware of what we're doing, aware of our club function, aware of our club's work. Then people start considering it, right? Oh, I saw those shoes. I saw 3 commercials of those shoes the other day. And I was walking down the street and I saw somebody wearing them. I'm going to think about buying those shoes, right? Then I'm gaining some interest. I'm going to go on the website and check out those shoes. How much are they? What colors do they come in? Do they have my size? When can I get those shoes? Are they back ordered? Can I go to the store? Do I have to order off Amazon? right? And the next thing is, I want to buy them. I'm going to give my credit card number, and that's the application process. I'm now committed to actually going forward and trying this thing out. I can still return the shoes if I don't like them, but I'm now investing some time and energy. And then guess what? I'm in there like those shoes, and they begin wearing them every single day. That's how we bring in Rotarians. That's how this club in North Carolina is bringing 70-some people. They're starting out by just doing service projects. Come and do a service project. Learn who we are. Learn about our shoes. We guarantee you're probably going to buy them. So how do we ask ourselves when we want to target market? In this case, target outreach, right? You look at the fan over there. Looks like one of those old fans my grandmother used to have. You put your hands in, hope your fingers didn't get chopped off. Oh, you could. That was the coolest part of it, Renee. I forgot about that. There's 3 concentric circles here, or not concentric, but 3 same-size circles. One is the influencer, right? That's the person going out there talking about how great the product is. One is the company. That's your organization, that's your club who's producing that product. And the other is the audience, the person you want to buy your product. In the middle is no coincidence. That's a target outreach. It's having somebody tell your story, showing and branding your story, and engaging your audience. So first you got to figure out how are we going to do this, right? You can't just automatically start out and do it without some sort of process. One is, who do we want to outreach to? Identify and define your audience. If you ever look at a Nike commercial, sorry, I keep going back to Nike, but you'll see, look at who's in their commercials. Every time they want, sometimes it's a younger audience, sometimes it's an older audience, sometimes it's a diversified audience. They want to be able to capture all those folks. What do I want to achieve? Right? Simple question. What type of response do I want to get? Do I want people coming in and being excited? Or do I want people coming in wondering what we do? Right? Why we're doing it. What kind of benefit do I want to communicate? Right? You need to think about these things ahead of time, not on the fly. How will I contact them? Right? Because again, it's going back. It's selling that cheeseburger 7 times. It's not just, we met them, we shook hands, and I told them to come to the meeting next Wednesday. No, I need your email address. Hey, can we go for coffee next Tuesday? That kind of thing. How can I raise attention? Right? And how can we achieve our targets? So if you go through this very linearly, then you have a process in place to capture new people. So I'm going to shut up. We're going to spend a few minutes by table, and I'd like you in groups, and I'm going to come around, to pick one target that you think we should be outreaching to. Right? I hope, I know we're not sitting by club or anything, of course, but everyone should take this back to their clubs. As a group, at your table, find one target, and I want people to develop, just do this rule, it doesn't have to be elaborate. Try to come up with 3 strategies. So we're going to do bump, bump, and bump. And then you're going to pick up one tactic, one goal, and 2 measures. Seems like a lot of work. If you don't get 3 strategies, that's fine. But I just want you to think through it. And we'll come back and I'll have 1 or 2 tables share the readout, just so we can say, here's the process, and hopefully you can take that back to your clubs and further define it. So I'll give you all a few minutes.
How long are you going to do this?
10, says the boss. 10 minutes. All right. Start. A couple seconds to wrap things up here.
Okay, everybody, let's have your attention, please.
All right, guys. You're between yourselves and a break here.
Okay, everybody, let's pay attention.
Thank you. All right. Thank you all. Do we have a table that wants to provide some, all right, go table in the back there, right here, the gentleman in the yellow shirt. Hold it up here.
This was pretty easy because the Stafford Club had pretty much done this for us and presented the idea at the table. The target group was women business leaders. And the plan of action was to engage outside business leaders to lead panel presentations at the club during club meeting time. They brought in 3 or 4 outside women business leaders to speak, and that was one of the strategies. They invited outside of Rotary women business leaders to tell their story, how they got to where they were, who their mentors were, what their successes had been, that type of thing. So it was to target the story of women business leaders. They invited outside guests to hear these presentations, so it wasn't you were being invited to a Rotary meeting, you were being invited to a panel of women business leaders talking about their successes. Strategies would be to use social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, those types of things to engage people from outside of the club, and include, say, like a Rotary Minute at the time. During the meeting, explain who Rotary is, why it was being sponsored, so the guests would understand the dynamic of what brought these people together for this time. The goal would be to expose more women to Rotary, to expand a networking opportunity for those women business leaders, and to also expose the club. To expose the club to potential business leaders in the community, and to expose those business leaders to what Rotary was doing, what the Stafford Club was doing. It was also a goal to form a base of prospects, not only the business leaders themselves, but the women who had come to the panel to hear the presentations. And the measurements would be, to set up measurements would be to just track new members. There have actually been new members from this process. And also to keep track of active prospects and guests, not just invite them, have them come in, thanks for coming, and let them go, but to maintain their contact information.
Absolutely excellent. That was very well done, very comprehensive, and this is exactly what your club should be doing. That's a great example. Somebody over here on this side of the room, anybody want to share? No?
Well, our 3 strategies.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. The 3 strategies we were talking about was Chamber of Commerce as reaching out for business leaders that are rising, if you will. We're figuring out your target group. If I had to pick a group at the table, one thing that came out in discussion was you've got to worry about the cost of Rotary, and that's going to knock out the really younger initial starting business people. They're pinching their pennies, so it makes it where you almost have to try and bump it up more toward the, say, 40 to 50-year-olds, with the idea they're not chasing children at home. They have the time. We are trying to work on how to get the different backgrounds and the underrepresented groups. As far as strategies for that, it's spread your net wide. One thing that we've done in our Blue Ridge Mountain Club is if we have a speaker come in, we ask them to bring their number 2 person with them also. Sometimes we find that it's not the speaker that we get has the interest for a future Rotarian. It's the person who works for them is trying to climb that ladder.
Hold it up here. You're blocking the Wi-Fi.
Okay, sorry, I'm being educated here. We're trying to work out how do you fix your own internal structural issues too. If you've got anything new is going to be coming into conflict with the established members. So there's working that political side of it too. We Our own clubs tend to have it. The Albemarle and the Blue Ridge Mountain Club, both structurally, we've got a lot of very, shall we say, experienced members. And the 70-year-olds, they're going to have different desires. As an example, for doing service projects, the younger people want to work on habitat. You put a 70-year-old person out there on a construction site, they're going to be swallowing aspirin for the rest of the week. So we've had to establish two types of service projects and establish a fairly regular pace of them so that both populations are kept happy. And then there is the issue of when the meetings are held. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. I mean, that right there is going to set up where you've got different target groups that you're reaching out to. The example of the people in the educational world, they're not available for lunch, and they might be available for dinner, but breakfast with Zoom is probably the best candidate area.
So you're talking about tactics right now.
Tactics, yeah. Strategies and goals, we're still trying to get toward. 5 minutes is not enough time. We're not as agile and quick as you are.
No worries. No worries. I know this is a long-term exercise, but thank you. I think there's a great tactics in there, and I think that's important to think about when you're talking about your strategy. We probably need to end because we're running behind time. I'd love to hear some more maybe later on in this session toward the end. Thank you all for engaging. I hope you can take some of this back with you. And 10-minute break now.
Yeah, please be back at 10:45.